Ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we are the ones who live. This is episode 3. I've got a co-host here that's been ride or die since the first episode. I'm talking about my man Bizzy. What's up, Bizzy?
Hey, what's up, man? Before we dive into this, so a lot of us have waited 6 years for this show to come out, and since we're talking about time, how long did it take you to make that intro? Because that's just kind of tough. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna divulge how long it. I'll tell you. I'll tell you after.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
After we get done watching it. But it
Um,
was
yeah,
some of the footage from that. I'll say came from like 2015 when the first time I started even
the
reviewing The
OG
Walking Dead.
reactor over here. Look at him, bro. That's crazy, man. That's
Don't
crazy,
start,
man.
man. Don't
But
start.
I want to start off by saying, like, we're off to a great start. A lot of the what they're doing with a lot of these shows, a lot of the spin-offs, they're going with the 6 episode format.
Mhm.
And sometimes it can be slow, sometimes it can be fire, and I've loved everything. I mean, I think the main thing is Rick Grimes. Seeing this man's face again after so long, seeing Andrew Lincoln perform as this character has been amazing. And I'm just so excited to talk about it. So that's what I'm doing here, man. Can't wait to talk about my boy Rick.
Yeah, speaking about Rick, Rick was in a rock and a hard place because, for X amount of years, he's been away. And now he has the love of his life back. But Jadis just put a whole spin from the last episode like, look, you better not mess up or I'm going to kill everyone.
Hmm.
And I think the interesting thing about how they started the episode, it was he was kind of just emotionally compromised. We hadn't seen him that vulnerable, even when he was talking um to Donald. Like when Donald was kind of confronting him, it wasn't like at a malicious intent. It was more like you got a destiny, like he's half crazy, like, but he believes in those convictions. She's saying, look, I was cool with you and I did save your life, but like if push comes to shove, man, if you leave again, I'm gonna have to go and kill everybody.
She flat
Everybody
out
you
said,
know.
I like some people that are back at Alexandria, but I got to do what I have to do. And
Yeah.
I mentioned this in the reaction, but to see how much she has grown as a character has been so interesting because the attitude she's giving Rick here, she would never,
Mm-mm.
and it's like to see where she has, gone. It's been fun. We saw a little bit of this in the world beyond. We saw who or where she is as a character. So to see more of that here specifically, where this is where we've kind of been waiting to see her interactions with Rick, because the point where she is with the CRM is this is where we last left her and Rick. Not only did we leave Rick in season 9, episode 1, we left Jadis. So to finally see her join the series has been something I was actually really excited about, because I feel like they didn't do her justice in the world beyond.
Yeah, and I'm one of those ones that I'll say I'm guilty. I have not seen The World Beyond.
You're totally fine, bro.
I've only seen like the first 3 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead, unfortunately. So I don't know what's happened to Jada since the last time that I saw her, which is when Rick,
Mhm.
blew up the bridge,
Yeah.
and her calling it in and getting him some support. And it's interesting because we see that same exact Jadis in the beginning of this episode. Like she's very, you know, honest. She's definitely taken to the place and she wants Rick to try to thrive and survive. And I think honestly, she said later on, like, I didn't think you had a way of getting out, but I think she was really being sincere that I think you can rebuild here. I think you can make a life here. And, in that time when Rick was talking to her, like he realized there was not any other options. He had to kind of follow along with what she was saying. Otherwise, like he was never going to have a chance to get back. Now, fast forward to present day, and she basically is like, "You want to really kill me, don't you? You can try, but I've got people waiting to get the information that I need on you to go back and kill everybody you know." And it's just such an interesting code flip because even as strong and calculated as Rick is now, he still reminded me back to that time when Negan put the fear of God in him
Hmm.
and he was at a point of desperation. Like I almost felt like I saw like Rick like tearing up because he kept on saying, why? 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 Like, there's no reason to push this. Like, at the very least, let her go. And he was like, nah, homie. Like, y'all in it now to live. Like, make a life out of it. Figure it out. What was your kind of take on like her coldness to that? Because again, I don't know this Jadis. I think it's very fascinating, but I also
So
very fascinating that he was so vulnerable too.
yeah, so we saw a big change of her in the world beyond. She wasn't in a lot of that series, so it wasn't like, you're missing too much, but we understand, where she kind of has gone as a character. We understand how much the CRM has kind of taken over, or like kind of, I guess, developed her as a person, if you will. Because again, you haven't seen the world beyond, but they mentioned a little bit in this show talking about Omaha and the fact that Omaha was destroyed, but they don't mention how Omaha was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call this a spoiler because the world beyond came out a few years ago. But the CRM is responsible for what happened to their own little colony. So it's like Jadis is familiar with the fact that the CRM needs to, I guess, do what they need to do. So it's just been really cool to kind of see again how much she has changed. We've seen her at her lowest point, but now she's the one who's doing, I guess, the damage, if you will. I don't know if you remember when we saw her entire crew die back in the Walking Dead series. She was at her lowest point that she's ever been at. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was it was actually really sad, and it's just the fact that now she has the power to do what Simon did. It's just I don't know. I mean, she's just switched, completely. She still has some traits that we're familiar with, like, you know, inviting Rick back to her, apartment, for an example. She's trying to rizz him up. But some of those moments were just like that was hilarious because that was a really fun callback to, I want to say it was season 8, when she's like asking Michonne if she claimed him. She's like, after the war, me and you will lie together. And I'm just like, bro, like the confidence this woman has is next level. But to see
Yeah.
how far she's gone has just been so interesting, and I really hope there's a switch that flips and she'll, come to a realization that, maybe she's kind of a dick, but we'll see.
Yeah, she always has had this crush on Rick Grimes. Like, it's an unspoken thing, but from the moment she's seen this man, she saw what he was. She's always just pushed that button. She just
Mhm.
keeps on pushing that button.
Yep.
Even in the midst of threatening his family and his life, she's like, hey, you want to come over though? And I feel like Rick
She
is
said
in
I
a
got a good
weird
view.
situation. Right, right. He's like, yeah, now that haircut, homie, you look like one of the dudes. But
Bro, that
um
was the funniest part of the episode. He was like they clearly were not getting along. She thought she got the last word, and he straight up says, "By the way, your haircut is shit." Dude, I love that they're like being more free with the dialogue. They're allowing them to, they're not having to kind of water down the language. And
Yes.
honestly, I know, some people, the language or not, it doesn't matter as long as the script is well written. But sometimes the dialogue feels more real when there is cussing involved. And I feel like you're seeing it with this series. They're feeling more honest when they, are frustrated and they say certain words. So I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, they did a really good job in this episode because there was something that they did that I didn't anticipate. And it was the fact that basically Rick is torn between three different very strong women, ultimately. Like, we know how crazy Jadis is, but we didn't really anticipate. We don't really know the levels of Rick's relationship with Thorne from a period of time, because I feel like she really is taken with Rick. I really do. Like, it's not just respect, it's not just friendship. Like, and she said it in the episode to the Michonne directly. He's my family. He's all I have left. Those are very key words. And I feel like when she pulled the gun on Michonne, I feel like it was a little bit of animosity. And it wasn't, I don't think it was just because of her insubordination. She was like, what if Rick falls for her? What if Rick follows her? I don't think she knows yet that Rick has a past with this woman, but I think that she can sense this woman has more in common with Rick than I do. And I can't have my family be taken away. I don't know. I was curious your perspective on just Thorne in this episode in general, because now she's been promoted to commander and she's been put in a situation where she is above Rick and she is making those calls because Donald is no longer alive. And so it's just interesting to see her kind of work in that lane while also antagonizing Michonne in front of Rick without, Rick trying to give too much away. I don't know. It was just a very interesting push and pull going on from Rick and Thorne this whole entire episode. But I was curious your take on it.
So when I was reacting to this, I was like thinking in my head, like, okay, I had just had a lot of thoughts. So I felt this, I think, since episode 2. I know, Rick's a loyal dude, but the idea that they had something romantic going on and they were gonna try to maybe force the kind of triangle on us, like a love triangle, I was a little nervous. I was actually really nervous about that. And as the episode went on, it was kind of more and more clear that maybe that wasn't the case. And it just made me kind of enjoy it a little more. But I was so nervous. I truly, like, you can feel kind of the connection that they have, romantic or not, it's there. And I'm glad it doesn't feel like it's romantic now that we're, further on. But I just really hope that their relationship, friendship wise, is strong enough to kind of like get by where they are, because obviously crap's gonna go down. It's gonna get crazy. And I'm hoping that they can manage to kind of stay on the same side through it all. Because as we see, they are constantly kind of at each other's necks when it comes to the way they see things. So eventually I hope they can make things work, but I'm really nervous because I've really come around to enjoy Thorne's character. And she has some comedy thrown in there. She's clearly a badass, but at the end of the day, The Walking Dead, you're never safe. You're never safe.
No.
I got trust issues because of this, so it's like I'm truly looking forward to seeing how they handle their dynamic, because it's been great. He's had no one, and she's been the only person that's still alive that he can really connect with, that he doesn't feel like is coming down his neck. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like their ideals are actually lined up. I don't think that they are disagreeing on anything. I think the biggest pivot is this woman that's now here that he's just happened to have been saved by, representing, and then now is forced into their so-called family that was birthed from Donald. And I really feel like they're on the same exact page outside of her. Like, it's because of her this huge ring. It's kind of like you have a brand new relationship with somebody, you've been with them for like X amount of years, and then the ex comes back into town. You don't say anything, that's your ex, but she's just there. And I feel like that's the dynamic that's going on. But the interesting thing about it is two different things is happening with Thorne as well. Is she got the general to have full conversation with her about whatever is the specific thing that's happening. We don't know, but she reiterated to Rick several different times, you don't know, Rick, I've seen it all and I am 1,000% in. And we don't really know what was it that kind of tied her to being like, okay, I'm all the way behind this no matter what it takes. But one of the other things that she said specifically is that I am not Donald. And the
She
way
said she
that
was switching up on the idea that Okafor had. And
yeah,
that's big, considering that he's the one who kind of like put her in the position she's in.
yep,
So what she must have seen must have been game changing. And I'm
right.
truly, truly excited. I don't know if it's variance. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you're familiar with variance, but like it's just something that I'm really curious about.
Yeah, because the only reason why she kind of said that she's not like Okafor to Rick is Rick had kind of basically said that, I can't remember who he was talking to, but basically that Okafor, he was talking to Michonne, that Okafor was the type of person that had his back, like no matter what. Like, he didn't agree with them, but he knew he had protection. And it's kind of like now that Okafor isn't there, where is his protection? She's already basically said, like, look, if you cross this line, no matter how close we are, that's it. And and it's just like I don't know what those dynamics mean, and I don't know even what the general is going to do, because the general basically is like, well, I think he said poison and cure. I think the interpretation that he had for Rick, um, and that
Oh
is Rick
yeah.
in general. That really
Mhm.
is who Rick is in this situation. Um, he doesn't trust him, and he shouldn't. I mean, Rick, he told him, like, look at my eyes and tell me what you actually see. Um, but Rick is also very conflicted in this episode as well. Um, in the episode, he continuously tries to find ways of keeping Michonne alive, and at the same as that time trying to get her out.
Mhm.
And what I mean by trying to get her out, like by any means necessary. So the first time, we were talking about it, we're like, okay, Rick, that's really bold. Like, you're gonna sit there and set all these different things up after you already know the general's on your back, everybody's looking at you. You're gonna go and make all these different traps and set everything in motion to make sure that it looks like that she's dead and get her out. And of course, Michonne is happy. She's like, okay, we're getting out. We're doing it. She follows all the way through the line just to get to the boat where he was supposed to be at. And this man left her a note like, if you love me, you will leave, because you're not going to be able to get out. Like, this is your only opportunity to get out. Leave me behind. What when Rick did that, what was your headspace? What were you thinking?
So he's desperate, man. I mean, he understands the situation they're in. I mean, we kind of saw this in the first episode when they were writing this. I mean, a lot of us came to the conclusion like it's been 8 years. Why hasn't he found his way back to them? Like, knowing Rick as a character, it would have to take a lot for him to like decide I can't do this anymore. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like they handled it really well in the first episode, showcasing what he had to do in order to escape on certain occasions, what how many times he tried to, get out of there. And the final straw was knowing that they had a lot of dirt on, his family as a whole. And realistically, like if he did try to get out of there with her, they could know where to go. I mean, yeah, Okafor is gone. I don't know how many people Okafor kind of contacted about, Rick's whereabouts, but at the end of the day, now Jadis knows. And Jadis she's, let's face it, she's a dick, So, I mean, this dude is trying his best to continue to do what he did even on the main show. And that's kind of put himself, you know, after he puts everyone else. So he knows in order to sacrifice, in order to save everybody that he cares about, he needs to put his happiness aside. And Michonne's
Yeah.
not about that. Michonne has been through so much. She knows she deserves, the happiness, which
Right.
means she's willing to do what it takes to get that happiness. And that's kind of where they differ. Um, and again, it's going to be crazy to see what finally goes down through it all.
Yeah, because the moment that he made that decision to do that, it's a very selfish and selfless decision, because Michonne this whole entire time has been trying to get to him.
Hmm.
That's it. That's all she's been doing for the past few years, and she's finally there. And I think even Jada said it, like, yeah, y'all together, y'all can do anything. Like, I gotta watch out for y'all, like, for real, for real. But he made the decision to, like, kind of have her not, like, just leave him behind, essentially forget him. And I was like, no, like, that's not gonna fly. Like, she's not about that life. And why do you think, I mean, you haven't seen your wife in 8 years, I get it, but she's never been that way, ever. Like, she's the same woman that had her dead siblings, right? Brothers, sisters. I can't remember what they were. There were siblings that she was carrying around as walkers out of guilt. She was never gonna leave anybody
Yeah.
behind. So it's just, it was heartbreaking, because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, he did all this. She's seeing this. She's pissed. She's got to go through all this to get back. I was like, what would be funny is, as soon as he get back, like thinking that she's out and like, oh, okay, I'm gonna set Thorne in motion, letting her know like the girl she escaped and she died. All to see Michonne just literally doing the same exact thing he was doing a few episodes ago and just unleashing the beast on these freaking walkers. Pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was doing it on the level of just like people were starting to cheer. And he was just like, oh
And
my
it's
God.
just so annoying because I guess she's frustrated, but she's doing the one thing he was so worried about, and that's drawing attention to herself. And the
Yeah,
main thing we have here is who's an A, who's a B. If you're an A, you're dying. It's pretty simple.
yeah.
And the skills she was showing off, like literally, there was a scene where one of the people she was with was about to get bit. She cuts off the head of one of the walkers and she throws the head
At
at the
another
other
walk.
walker. You don't do that if you're a B. You don't do that if you're a B. I mean, I truly, it was frustrating me because I understand she's not going to let somebody die just to keep her cover.
Right.
But there's so many other ways you could have handled that. That's pro level type stuff right there. Like that's like the amount of attention she's gonna draw to herself by doing that is insane. Like she could have handled it any other way, and she chose to throw a head of a walker at another head of a walker. It baffled me, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, and so when Rick tried to say to her like, we need to talk, she looked at him like he was crazy, and like he's like, I thought you loved me, like, and she looked at him. She ain't even said nothing. She just dip said it,
Mm-hmm.
but it went back to a scene that we have all been wondering about, like the phones, like who's been drawing these things on the phones. And she was kind of writing her
Mm-hmm.
kids like, I was just about ready to give up, and then I found this. And she found the person that Rick had confided in for 4 years. I think 3 or 4 years he had been going back and forth to him and just talking about them, trying to describe them so he could be able to get pictures of him. And that warmed her heart because she still saw a semblance of the man that she's been trying to save.
Especially when he repeated the message that she was familiar with. The buddy she met in the second episode ended up repeating the message that was in Japanese, and
Yeah.
that clearly meant a lot to her. So to meet the artist and the artist explaining like, you've told me more in a matter of 2 minutes than Rick has told me in 2 years.
Right.
It just shows a lot of how he was, considering that not only was he entirely quiet when he meant this dude. We saw the same thing with the man in the first episode. I forgot his name. He's like the head of the water, the pipes and all that stuff.
Hmm.
He mentioned the same thing. He's like, oh, look how far we've come. Like when we first started talking 2 years ago, I did all the talking and you just listened. So
Right.
it's just it's really cool, but at the same time, it really hits your heart because if Carl was still alive, the amount of great storylines they could have done, it would have been ridiculous. But at the end of the day, to hear him say, I helped make Judith, I drew you, but Carl I could never get right.
Right.
It's just it's sad to think about. I don't know whether it means Rick was slowly forgetting how Carl looked, or just it just would never meet the perfection that Carl was in his eyes, but it was just, I don't know what it was, but hearing that just hit me on a different level. That's
Yeah.
someone he lost, and that's going to be really hard to kind of ever put an image of who Carl was again in his
Yeah.
head. It was sad. It was sad.
Yeah. Because I think the thing about Carl, like he went through so many different transformations. Initially, he was just a sweet little kid. Then he kind of had to kill his own mom, so he wore his dad's hat.
Then after that, he turned into
Then
a little serial killer.
and then he lost his eye.
He lost his eye.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of different stages of him. So I can imagine he wouldn't want somebody to draw his son missing an eye and wearing a hat that basically symbolizes his failure. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like he feels like he failed Carl. So I can only imagine because even the guy, he was like, I don't know who his son's name was, and she was like, Carl. His name was Carl, and I was like, oh man. Um, so she kind of leaves there and then tries to regroup with Rick, and basically she's put on detail working with Thorne, and Thorne's already on her back, and she's like, "Yeah, I want to hate you a little bit. Like this is how we do things. Like you're gonna be put to the test." And this is the crazy thing about this episode. I think this might have been the most Buck thing ever because basically Thorne was kind of assessing like, are you about the cause? Are you about this life? You a ride or die? Are you about to get put down? You know what I mean? And Michonne says yes, of course, because she's not stupid. But Thorne keeps on raising up her knife, and like Rick,
Immediately.
Rick sees this and starts to draw his gun, and I was like, now, come on, Rick. Now, I know you know that Thorne knows you're pulling your gun out, but I think he was like, I might have to kill her. And I don't think that Thorne would ever assess that he would have tried to kill her because it wouldn't make any sense. Why would Rick kill me over somebody he doesn't know?
Mhm.
But yeah, Thorne about to be put on the news tonight because if she had to put that knife back in the shiv, he would have killed her, and that would have broke his cover anyway. So it's like he absolutely is in a place of desperation and high stress. He really is, because I don't even know how he would cover that up. I really wouldn't know how he would cover
Well, I
that
mean,
up.
they're in a place that no one really knows about. That was the place that they were kind of planning their coup, if you will.
Yeah,
The place that Okafor was taking them. So I don't know how many people actually know of that place. Obviously, it still would have drew a lot of suspicions considering how close he was to her and the
yeah,
timing that, Michonne coming into the picture. But at the end of the day, the what was it? I don't know. There's just the fact that, she knew that Rick drew the gun. Just kinda
mhm,
like, I don't know, she just knows him so well. It's like, yeah, he's known Michonne for a while, but he's known Thorne for about 8 years,
right.
which is incredibly long, and I don't know if I'm tripping, but, like, how long did he knew Michonne for about a similar amount of time, maybe even less. I think less, honestly, and
I,
it's just
so it's weird
yeah,
because,
timeline's different here.
like, I mean, technically, he's been in Michonne's life longer, but he's been away from her for 8 years.
But when like, from start to, like, where he left.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
right.
pretty sure he's known Thorne
Just as
longer than,
long. Yeah,
personal spending time together, he's known Thorne longer than he's known Michonne.
yeah.
And I don't
Um,
think they're gonna do much with that. I don't think they're gonna be like, "Okay, he's gonna choose Thorne over Michonne." But I feel like it should be important when it comes down to him making decisions, because obviously Michonne's the love of his life.
yeah,
But, Thorne has been there when he's had literally nothing. There's days
yeah,
where he was so in such a dark hole, he was willing to just take his life away, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
I don't it's just such a complicated situation he's in. It's just I don't know, it's just hard. It's really rough.
yeah. It's because I mean, like you said, like the fact is, it wouldn't have just drawn attention. It would have basically killed whatever last connection he had to that place. This is the other thing. Jada said this. Jadis was like, "Are you sure? Like, because he basically went to Jadis and like, look, she's out, she's safe. Like, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Like, I took care of it." And she's like, "Oh, you really got Thorne on your side, huh? That's interesting." And she said something along the lines of like, why did you do it that way? Like, you could have actually got out. Are you sure it's not something else as a reason why you want to be here? And I was like, what does she insinuate? Because one or two things: either it's the cause and his purpose, or his convictions when it comes to Thorne. Because I mean, Donald, Thorne, and him did make a really strong pact. And I think he does want to protect people. I think
Mhm.
he believes in protecting people. So I don't know. What was your take on what Jada said? What is the other thing that's keeping him there? Because it isn't just self-preservation of his whole family. I think that there actually is something there. I think she's right.
I mean, I truly believe that he believes that this place can cause a big change. During one of his letters, he mentioned this place is like it's different. It is powerful, but it's also the most terrifying thing he's seen. You know what I'm saying? So like he understands that this can be a positive change, but at the same time, it can be one of the most dangerous things that happened to the world since the Walkers. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I feel like this is the first time he's understood like that he's in a situation where this is like I truly don't know how to explain it, but this is like so different. You know what I'm saying? Like this is an opportunity that like I know a lot of people are like, oh wait, he can finally rally everyone because again they kill all the A's, so clearly there's a reason that the A's are dangerous because everyone there might find someone that they trust in and they might end up following them, and he could start a revolution. I mean, I really don't know, but like I truly believe that he has some faith in the CRM and what they're actually capable of. But at the same time, he's I think been so traumatized, he doesn't really want much to do with them. I think he's just in such a complicated situation. His brain doesn't know how to brain. Like he doesn't know what to do. He's really messed up right now.
Yeah. And the other side of all this, the love of his life is completely mad at
Mhm.
him. Like she is pissed.
And if he didn't
Um,
piss her off enough with trying to send her off the first time, the way he approached it at the end, where he actually started picking up his voice to her, I was getting scared. I thought she was gonna pull out her sword. I mean, like realistically, I ain't talking to somebody like that I know damn well is extremely dangerous.
right,
Michonne ain't no joke. Like you don't do
right.
that. You don't do that.
That's
That's stupid.
right. She can pretty much kill anyone.
And I
Like,
know she wouldn't go to that point with him, but like
I mean, she'll hurt him.
yeah, well,
She'll hurt his tail.
and it's like he doesn't know. I feel like obviously I don't think she wants him. I don't think she wants to use RJ as a reason for him to, decide, oh, wait, if that's the case, then I'll go back. I think she wants him to remember what they had, you
Yeah,
know? She
but
shouldn't have to use RJ as a bargaining chip.
she shouldn't. But she should have just went on and told him straight up.
Yeah, 100%. But I think she's playing it, like I don't know if this is exactly what she's doing, but I think it's smart to make sure this is the same Rick. And this is what was mentioned in episode 2 with
Yeah, from
the
Nate.
buddy she met.
Yeah,
What was his name again? Sorry.
Nat or Nate.
Nate.
Yeah,
Okay. So like this is what happened in that episode where he said, "Are you sure that's him? Spend all this time, make sure that's him." And I
yeah,
feel like that's kind of what she's trying to do. She wants to make sure this is the same man she loves, wants to make sure that like if he does go back, he goes back for the right reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like she shouldn't have to use him in that situation. I totally get you being talking about being honest and stuff, but it's such a complicated situation. It's been 8 years. Like, what
yeah,
do you do there? You want to make sure he's the same man, but at the same time, you want to make sure he doesn't come back with like ulterior motives. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's so complicated.
Yeah, because I mean, truth be told, like just as soon as she gets back with him, he either one is going to go towards paranoia that they're going to get killed and he's going to be looking behind his shoulder this whole entire time, or he's going to be convicted because he feels like, oh man, I left saving the world, and he leaves again. So, um, I really don't know what's going to happen with this. I mean, realistically, they should just take over the whole joint, to be honest with you, because I don't see another way around this. I really don't, because Jadis is not gonna let up. And at this point now, because of the way Rick did that whole sloppy thing, like I think that Michonne would have had to have hid her katana somewhere else now. She's got possession of it somewhere because she never got it. Like she never showed what she did with it after she came back. Now, there is one last thing we got to talk about, which is the Thorne, Michonne, and Rick
Mhm.
situation. So Thorne basically kind of leading the commands, like, look, I'm gonna be running point with the ball. I'm gonna run it up. We're gonna take these 100 walkers out, and I got it. And then you, Michonne, are gonna fall back, make sure nobody's dying, and then you, Rick, are gonna flank to the left. And so everything seemed like it was cool up until Thorne couldn't get it up. Like she was trying to push, it wasn't working. And Michonne was trying to offer help. She was like, no, you need to back away. And she was just so stubborn. And because she could have just asked Rick for help, but she didn't even do that. And so then it was like the walkers are kind of bleeding in. She had to kind of pull away for a second. And then Michonne said, man, bump this, bro. Let me go ahead and put in work. So she goes, not caring whether or not she's going to live or die. She just pushes the thing exactly the direction it needs to go. Rick comes alongside of her and they just go to work. Like this reminds me of that one episode where both of them were in the cars.
Oh yeah, with
in
the
the
line.
line, and they were just
Yeah,
going like
whatever it was.
that's exactly what it
That was
reminded me
so
of.
hard, bro, dude.
And I was like, they've done this before, so of course they're gonna accomplish it. And then Rick kind of pulls her to the side, and then they make it out before the explosion goes down, which is dope. But then they just start to intimately kiss, and I get it, like they miss each other, they really do. But I was like, is it worth it?
Dude,
Like
that part had
if
me
you get
so
caught,
stressed out. Exactly.
like what are you gonna say to
I was
this? Like,
stressing, dude.
because Thorne is going to have it two different ways. Either one, she's going to be completely jealous and want to kill you, or two, she's going to like, you a freaking traitor. What are you doing? Like, what is really going on with this person? Because even though she didn't catch them, she seen Rick and Michonne putting in work on these walkers, and I was like, they were just in emotion. Like it was dope to see. And she started to aim her gun, and I was like, my personal opinion, she wasn't trying to aim the gun at Michonne because of insubordination. I think she was aiming at it because her and Rick did that together. I whether you want to say jealousy, whether you want to say she's like worried that Rick is gonna be drawn to her. There's a calculative reason why she did that. And the funny thing is, if Rick hadn't done what he did and got in front of it, she would have died. She was absolutely, she don't miss. And the interesting thing, it also shows that she's vulnerable when it comes to Rick, because realistically, she could have got away with killing both of them. Nobody would have cared. Nobody would have even known. But
Considering that she's literally got a promotion, she's a high-ranking officer at this point.
Yeah.
So she could have just swept that under the rug and it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing is that he did get promoted, and she was like, "Look, you got to do this, you got to do that, but I want her gone. I want you away from her." And I was just like, "Oh, this is a territorial situation." So then Rick, because of stress and anxiety, hearing that, now he realizes, one, I don't have Thorne on my side anymore. Two, I've lost her trust. Two, I've got Jadis up my butt. I got to figure out what to do about that. And then now my wife is doing stuff that's going to compromise her. You know what? Screw it. You need to go. This needs to stop. We're broken. And I said, no, you didn't just say that, dude. You don't say, even in marriage, you don't say something like if you tell your wife or your significant other or even your girlfriend, we are broken.
What we have is broken. Yeah, it's not okay.
It's never gonna end.
Not
Even
okay.
if it's true, even if you said it out of emotion, it's never.
And I think that's why he said it. I think what he plans on doing is making things so sour between them. She doesn't want to be there anymore.
Right.
But no, she's not stupid. She knows exactly what he's trying to do, but still the words are gonna hurt. And so what he's doing is just damaging what they have, but at the same time, it's not even gonna push her away. It's not doing what he wants. It's just
Right.
making things even more difficult for him. Because she's not gonna see reasoning when he's talking to her like that.
Yeah. And then from that point on, she was pissed. Like she wasn't just hurt, she was just pissed.
Her final decision showed that.
Dog. So he got up in the helicopter, and Rick had to face literally the woman he just said this to. And I was like, bruh, like normally this is how domestic violence happens. Moments just like this. And
The
you know
eye
what?
contact, he was forced to look at her, bro.
And she just smirking. Like she won't even like she was mad and just smirking at him. And then she started kind of using the monologue of talking to the kids like, I'm
That guy, you
sorry.
might not see him again.
Right. And it's like, I'm so sorry. And she took this man and dove out the freaking helicopter with him in the rain and hopefully in some water, because she basically was like, yeah, if you ain't coming willingly, you gonna die with me, or we're gonna make it back one other way. And I was like, Rick, you did this. You are the author of this situation because, and I get why you said it the way you said it. I get the reasons. I understand it, but you got to know your wife. You know your wife better than anybody. You thought that that was gonna help, bruh. Like you lucky she didn't knock you out and drag you. Like honestly, that's what I thought she was gonna do. I was like, she's gonna find her way into that Grimes, I forget, Grimes 68 or something like that apartment, knock his butt out and drag him out, like straight up. But instead she dove out of a helicopter with him. So I don't know what comes from here. Do you have any thoughts where we're going?
Dude, obviously they're not dead, but like, how far was the drop? Did they land in water? Did they land on trees? I don't know what's going on. My head hurts. These characters are making crazy decisions after crazy decisions, and I just need to know where it goes. I really do. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of things, the amount of hopes that I had for this series, and like one of the main ones was like, I truly hope, like, I understand this is a Michonne and Rick show. I don't want them having a reunion at the end of the show. I want it to happen earlier, and that's what we've gotten. But we've also gotten some major beef between them, and it's
Mhm.
been insane to watch. And I'm so curious to see how it's going to affect them and where it's going to go, what it's going to lead to. There's just so many possibilities they can go with this, and it's I'm I'm so I'm so into it. I'm so into it. I've loved what we got so far, and I'm looking forward to more.
I think it's really good, man. I think this is a really freaking good show. Um, if I we can go ahead and do ratings. As far as ratings for me, this is another A. Not necessarily an A plus, but I do think it's
Mhm.
an A. They progress in the story really well. They're raising up the stakes. They're adding progressive dialogue that rounds out characters like Thorne. Like, I mean, I thought she was a good character, but they gave her dimensions in this episode.
Mhm.
Like, so many different decisions she made emotionally and calculatively, even going to his apartment and kind of like being really formal but awkward. Um, so it's just so ambiguous of what their relationships. It's different things that I really love that they did with this. But I rate this at an A.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna put it at an A minus, B plus. I'm loving what they're doing. I truly am. I just think, like, I really don't want them to drag this out. I understand it's gonna, like, this is only 6 episodes, so I know they're not gonna drag it out. But it's like, I think I just have so many like wants for this show. Like, I know they're gonna kill it. I know episode 4 is gonna be fun. I've loved every single thing we've gotten, but it's like, I need to know how they're gonna wrap it up without it feeling, off with the pacing. And
Yeah,
where we're kind of at now, they're gonna be so isolated from the CRM. So I think it's gonna be even more of them disagreeing, because now that they're finally free, we're gonna have Michonne that's like, okay, we can go back. Then we're gonna have Rick that be like, no, I have to go back. If not, this is a mess. So
yeah,
it's just gonna be more and more of the back and forth, the will he, won't he, it's gonna be a whole thing. So
yeah.
I'm truly looking forward to seeing how episode 4 plays out. But knowing that we're already halfway through the show, it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm gonna ask you this question, but when everybody else is watching this, you guys are watching in real time. We're in the past, far in the past. Do you think they're gonna end this show to be a definite end for Rick and Michonne's character, or are they gonna leave it open?
I truly believe that it's gonna be, I don't know if I even want to call it an open ending, but like, I don't think they're gonna kill him off. I think that they're gonna, they could go back to Alexandria, and we could have a nice little moment between him and his kids, because they need to have the reunion. It sucks that we're probably not gonna get a reunion between him and Daryl and all these characters, but at the end of the day, like, it would make no sense to not have him meet his child, to not, like, all this needs to happen. But I don't know. It's just such a tricky situation. I don't know how they're gonna end up. I feel like I want to believe we're gonna have a happy ending, but I don't think they're ever gonna close the possibility of them potentially making money off these characters in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like we still have the Daryl Dixon show and Dead City, which they have both been confirmed for season 2.
Yeah.
And Rick and Michonne, from what I know, was confirmed as a limited series, but I'm pretty sure some of the other spin-offs were too. So
Yeah, Dead City definitely was
I don't know.
initially
Yeah.
a limited series.
And I mean, you already said this, but we're watching this ahead of time. So we're experiencing how good this show is. So I'm truly hoping that hopefully the positive reviews come out and they're just kind of their hands are forced. They got to make a season 2. You know what I'm saying? They got to do it. So I'm really
Yeah.
hoping that they leave it kind of open-ended where it's like, oh, they're happy, but at the same time, we're in the middle of an apocalypse. Like anything can freaking happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is like a world situation, like for real. And the fact that the CRM has a 500-year plan to be able to deal with this, I think what's going to be the most interesting impact on this show is to see what the plan is, to see what they actually know. Because depending on what that information is, I think that's going to change the trajectory of the entire series or the franchise moving forward in general. So, anywho, I'm going to stop there because it's late for us. I got to get some sleep. I need sleep. Bizzy, where can everybody find your content, man?
So you could find me at Bizzy Braun everywhere. Bizzy Reactions on Instagram. We've been reacting to The Walking Dead for quite some time. Not only The Walking Dead, but we reacted to The World Beyond, Fear the Walking Dead, Dead in the Water, The World like I already said, The World Beyond, but Dead City, Daryl Dixon. We're reacting to all things Walking Dead. Truly am excited to drop my reactions for this. And yeah, I mean, a lot of Walking Dead content is going to be dropping and has already dropped. So check it out.
Yeah, Bizzy, thank you so much for joining again.
Always,
We'll be
bro.
back for episode 4. Y'all take care. Have a good night. Peace, people.
Filing out the top of
I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on